Welcome back, guys. So it's been a long journey thus far. In the last one, we were able to build this lyrics app. In this one, we're going to build a notes app. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do with the app. So basically, it's a simple note app. We can add a title. So I'll just say hello world, and here I'll just say my name is okay, and then I'll just click on add notes, and it's going to add that. And the interesting thing is that this is saved in our local storage for our browser. So even if I refresh this page, it still stays there. Okay, let's add a second note. So okay, I'll see. Okay, and then I'll click on add notes, and as you can see, the second note has been added. So essentially, we can delete the notes, we can choose to edit the notes. If I click on delete the note, I'll get this confirmation. Do you want to delete this note? I'll click on OK, and the note is deleted. And at the same time, if I click on edit notes, right, it will push that note into the fields here, the form fields here. Okay, and if for any reason there's something inside of the form field, right, and I click on edit notes, you see I get a notification that please clear the form before editing a note. Okay, so I'll click on OK, and I have to clear the form, and I click on edit note, and you see here, right, so let me add the note back. And there's one more thing. So if I try to add a note without any content here, I'll get a notification, please add note title and details. Okay, if I do just on one, and I'll still get the same notification. So basically I need to have data here before I can add it to the note. So you can add as much notes as you want. Okay, so you see we have 3 notes. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete these ones that don't make sense. All right, so basically that's what we're going to be building in this project, and we're going to be using the local storage. Okay, so in this project you're going to actually work with the local storage for your in JavaScript. Okay, so let's get started. So let's bring up our code editor. Okay, and let's minimize this. All right, so we're going to start with index.html, and hopefully we are not going to spend too much time with that. Okay, so let's start with the header, and let's put everything inside a container, and I'll say h1. I'm adding a text area. So we're going to come outside of the header. And then we're going to add 2 buttons. And so we are done with the markup. Okay, so let's move over to the CSS and let's get busy. So let's let me shrink this up a little. So the CSS, we are going to start with the body, and let's just add a background color. And then let's begin by targeting the H1 here. So let's do line height of 2. So we're going to go straight into the form. Okay, header form, display flex, flex direction column, with 30 rem or 40 rem. Okay, so that's the form. And let's style all the elements inside of the form. So the way you do that is you say form and that universal selector. Okay, you see that. And let's do padding 7px. Okay, so I think we're done with that. Now we're going to target specific areas like this text area. Now we're going to target it. So let's get the text area. So I'll say form and text area. Let's do padding of, so I'm going to say 7 pixels on the top, 0 on the right, 40 pixels, and so this should actually be 0, not O. Okay, so let's do for the placeholder, and I'm just going to give it a font size of 1.2 rem and see how that looks. Okay, so now let's style the button. Okay, so I'm just going to say so that's button and hover, and I'm just going to change the background color to the secondary color. Okay, so I think I made it secondary first. Okay, yeah, so that's what I did. All right, so now it's time to style these guys here because this is how the notes will be displayed. Okay, so let's come here and let's say notes. So I'm going to give it a white background color, so that will be hash FFF. And let's do border radius of 5 pixels. That's not too much. Something is wrong. My styles are not taking. So let me look at the index HTML first. So this is ID of notes. Okay. So I'm styling for class, whereas I give it an ID here. So let me just be sure. So well, I may as well add a class here and say something like okay. So we have that this thing here. Okay, so let's do some margin. So there's some space between the notes. Okay, then so I'll just target the notes counter and note text. Just put it on another line. Okay, then so it's okay like that. Then let me just get the buttons and start the notes buttons, and we're done. So okay, so that's fine. And I'll do cursor to pointer. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'll just add a different background color for the second button. Okay, and I'll just add my primary color. Yeah, so we are done. Finally, we're done with the CSS. So now the most important part is the JavaScript. Okay, so let's open our script.js, and I'm gonna have to shrink this note a little bit more, and let's widen this guy so we can have some space. Okay, so script.js, what do we do first? So the first thing is that we want to be able to add this note to the local storage when we click on the button. Okay, So first off, let's create some variables. So I would say let's add btn, which is the add button, the add notes button, is going to be equals to document dot get element by id, and I'm just going to get the add hyphen button. Okay, so basically I want to add an event listener to the button, so I'll say add btn dot add event listener, that is going to be click event, and basically let's just do so arrow function, and then within this function I'm going to then declare the variables for the title and text. Okay, but interestingly I think I can declare them outside, so let me just do that and say let's add title be equals to so document dot get element by id, and basically the id was notes title. And then I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say add text. Okay, and I'll change this to note text. Okay, all right, so in my function for the button, the first thing I'll do is I want to be able to check if there's anything inside of the input and the text area. Okay, so I would say if, right, add title dot value, right, if it's equals to an empty string, right, or if the add text dot value, so add text dot value is also equals to an empty string, what do I want to happen? I want to be able to return an alert. So I'll say return, and I'll throw an alert, and this alert is basically going to say please add note title and details. So please add okay, and I'll save. So let's go ahead and test what we just wrote here. So and as you can see, it says please add note title and details. So what we have is wired up properly. Okay, so let's continue. I'll then say let notes equals to local storage. Okay, I want to give a space here. I like spacing things out. Okay, so local storage dot get items. Okay, so basically for local storage we can get items from the local storage, we can save items by setting the items, so that's local storage dot set items. We can remove items, that's deleting the items. We can even clear the local storage. Okay, we're going to see how that works in the tutorial now. Okay, so and the way you save information in the local storage, you save it in the form of a string. Okay, so we're going to see that later as we move on. Okay, so now I'll say if notes, so let me open an if else statement. I'll say if notes is equals to null, right? If the notes is invalid, what do I want to do? I'll say notes objects is equals to an empty array. Okay, right? Else, what do I want to do? I want to get the notes object, and I'll say json.parse. So json.parse, and then I'll get the notes, and I'll close this. Okay, so let's come out of here. So basically, what have we done here? When we want to save a note to the local storage, right? Usually what we have is an object. When we want to save it in the local storage, we need to convert it to a string first. And we do that with json.stringify. But when we are getting a note from the local storage, to access the values of that note, we have to convert it back to an object. Okay, and we do that with json.parse. Okay, so that's basically what I just did here. Okay, so now let's come and create the note object. So but first I would say something like, let my object, right, be equal to, so I'll say title, and I'll say add title.value. So I don't know which one is faster, actually just copying these guys and pasting it, or writing it out. So this will be add text, and here will be text. Okay, so here what we have here is an object, right? Oh no, this should what am I doing? So this is a comma. Okay, now basically we've put this title and text into an object, right? But this is not the object that the local storage recognizes. Okay, so we're going to have to push this object into the notes object, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say notes object dot push, right? And we're then going to pass the my object into it. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to set item. In other words, we're going to save the value of the title and text, and the way we do that is we say local storage dot set item. Okay, and then let's open a bracket. So what do we want to set? We want to set the, we want to save the notes, right? And remember, to save anything in the local storage, you have to convert it to a string. Okay, and what we have here is an object. So what we're going to do is we're going to say json dot stringify to convert what we have, the object, to a string, and then inside a bracket is where you then put the object. So in this case the object is notes object, right? So this is how you actually can save stuff. Okay, now we're going to then remove the values from the forms. Okay, so basically the way you do that is you can just say add title.value, or I can even just copy all of this and I'll just delete what I don't need, right? So I'll say add title.value is equals to an empty string. In other words, when you save a note, we want the form to become empty. So that's what we've just done, and let's save. Okay, so then what do we do now is we're going to show the notes. Okay, so I will call a function to show the notes, or to display the notes really, right? Okay, so but there's something wrong here. Let me see my syntax. Okay, there should be a comma here, that's the problem. All right, and I'll save. All right, so we need to create a function to show the notes on the page, right? Now, what are we going to do? We're going to come down here and we're going to say so let's say show notes on the page. Okay, so basically these notes are being the data for the notes are being gotten from the local storage and displayed on the page. Okay, so I'll say function and I'll say show notes. All right, so first off, let's define the notes one more time. So let notes be equals to local storage dot get item, because we want to get the information from the local storage before we display it on the page, right? So local storage dot get items, and what are we getting? We're getting the notes. Okay, now we're going to add an if else statement. So basically the if else statement is very similar to this, so I'll just get this one and modify it, right? I'll paste that in here. I'll say if notes is equals to null, notes object is equals to an empty array, else notes object is equals to json.parse and notes. Okay, so that's exactly what I want. Now what do I want to do next? I want to be able to, so essentially I've gotten the information from the local storage. I want to be able to display it on the page. Okay, so I will create a variable and I'll name that variable HTML, and initially I'll set it to an empty string. Okay, then I will then create a for each loop, right? So I'll say something like notes objects dot for each, ouch, okay, so let's open this up and let's say function, and it's going to take two parameters. The first is going to be element and the second is going to be index. Okay, then we can then open up like so. So having done that, we can then specify the value of the HTML. Okay, so I'll then say HTML plus equals, right? And then let's do use template literals to add some stuff to the page. Okay, so what do I want to do here? So basically what I want to do here is very similar to what we have on the page on the other side. So basically I can just go to my index.html and I can copy this notes page. Okay, and then I'll then modify it. So I'll just grab this guy here, I'll come to my styles and my script.js and I'll paste it in. Okay, so now let's begin to modify it. So the div with an id of notes, that's okay. A paragraph with a class of note counter, and that is going to say note. So we're going to add some things here, right? So we're going to say index plus one because the index is going to start at 0, so we're adding 1. So this one is going to say notes 1, notes 2, notes 3, and like that. Okay, right, so the second line we have notes with a class of note title and the hello world. So we're going to change what the hello world actually says. So this is going to be elements.title, elements dot title. Okay, so it's going to get that specific title from the local storage. And so the next one says class of note text. Okay, So what is inside is going to say, so I can basically just grab this one. Okay, so let me just copy it like this, and I'll just add the first, and I'll paste that in. So this one is going to say elements.text. Okay, then we have the button with a class of notes button, and that says delete button. So we're going to give this button an ID, and we're going to set that to be equal to index. So we're going to say dollar and index. Okay, so one more thing, we're going to add an onClick event. So I'll just say onClick, and I'm going to set the onClick to, so what do I want to do? Basically, I want to call a function called delete notes. Okay, so I'm just going to say delete note function, and that function is going to take a parameter, and that parameter is going to be this ID. Okay, so basically it's going to delete the specific note that was clicked. Okay, so how am I going to do this? I'm just going to say this dot ID, right? And I think that does it. Okay, so we're going to come to the edit button, right? And we're going to do the same. So I'll copy the ID, and then I'll give this edit button the same ID, and I'll add the onClick function, and then I'll give the same to the button. So I can just place that here. Okay, but this one is going to say edit notes. Okay, it's a different function it's calling. So edit notes, and I can go ahead and save. So that's it, we're done. Okay, so I think we can, let me see, is there anything I'm missing out? Okay, we're not done yet per se, so let's close this guy up here, and then I think I'll just close this one too, and then I'll come out of this guy here. I'll then say let note elements, so I'll just say elm for short, be equals to document dot get elements by ID, and I'll target the notes ID. Okay, and then I'll add an if else statement. I'll say if the notes object, right, the length, sorry, that should be small letter, if note object dot length is not equal to 0, what do I want to do? I want to set the note element dot inner HTML to be equal to this guy we just created here. So that's HTML. Okay, else what are we going to do? We are going to say that, so let me just grab this and paste that in, and I think I'll need to explain what I just did here, and I'm going to say no notes yet. And what do we want the user to do? We want them to add a note using the form above. So okay, so basically what do we have here? We've been able to get the note objects from this local storage, and remember that in the local storage the notes are saved in the form of a string, Okay, so that's why we converted them to an object using the json.pass. And then we created a variable html that we then assigned all of this. Okay, we created this for each loop, and then we assigned all this to the html variable. And that's basically what we, so all these div, paragraph, h3 and all of that is what we are going to pass into this note. Okay, and then we created a variable and said that we want to get the elements by id of the notes, which is this guy here. And we said that if the note object, which is what we are getting from the local storage, but it's in the form of a string, we just converted it back to an object. If there's nothing there, in other words, if there's nothing to get from the local storage, right? Sorry, what am I saying? We're saying that if the note object is not equals to 0, in other words, if we've gotten something from the local storage, we want the note elements to be equals to this HTML we've set here. Else we then display this text. Okay, so I'm kind of hoping that I don't have any error, because I think I'm a little bit tired. So let me just do hello and my name. Okay, so you see, oh, it doesn't actually work. So let me just check and find out what the problem is. Okay, so it adds and then it automatically removes them. Okay, I think it's because I've not called the show note function. Okay, so let me come here. Let's see, show notes. So what am I going to do? I'll just call the show notes function. Let me just come out and say show notes and save. And I think that should do it. Okay, so you actually see that the notes are showing right now. Okay, so that was the issue. Okay, and let's add another note and add, and as you can see, all the notes are displayed. So that was the problem. We didn't call the function, so but we have now. So let's shrink this up. So now what do we need to do? We need to add two more functions. The first is going to edit the notes, and the next one is going to delete the notes. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And you may notice that the css for this note is not actually the way it should be, because there's no space at the bottom. So we're gonna have to fix that. Do I need to add some padding? Okay, let me just focus on finishing the JavaScript so I don't mix things up. Okay, so first let's create a function to delete the notes. So I'll add a comment here, and I'll see function to delete notes. Okay, so we shouldn't spend too much time creating these functions. What we're going to say is we're going to say function, and I think it's delete notes. Yeah, so that's it. And basically remember that we're going to have to pass index, because we are deleting the index note. In other words, we are deleting the current notes that we are clicking on, right? So for that, let's first of all confirm that we want to delete the note, right? And I'll say let's confirm delete be equals to, and then I'm going to say confirm. What am I going to confirm? I'll say you're about to delete this note, so you are deleting this note. Okay, so that's basically what I'm going to do. Now what I would then say, I'll now say Okay, so I'll make sure that the note is declared inside of this function so that it's accessible, equals local storage dot get item, and I'll get the notes, right? Now I'll say if confirm delete, right, is equals to true. In other words, if the user agrees to delete whatever, what do I want to do? I want to, okay, I probably should have just placed this inside. So Control X. So if the user agrees to delete, I'll first get the item from the local storage, right? And then I'll just add an if else statement. So basically, let's just grab our if else statement we already have here. It's, and then I'll just fix that in here. So I'll say if note is equals to null empty string empty array, and then if the notes object rather, and or else I will then pass it in the JSON. Okay, and then outside here is where I will then say notes objects dot splice. Okay, so you remember that the splice method is going to delete an item in the array. So but then I'm going to specify where I want it to start, and I want it to start from the index, that is the one that I clicked, so index, and I want to delete just one. Okay, so that's it. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to set back the items to the local storage. So I'll say local storage dot set item, right, open a bracket, and we want to set the notes. Okay, and remember we need to convert it back to a string, right? So you remember how we do that? We do JSON dot stringify, and then we then say what we want to do, the object we want to convert to a string, and that's the note object. And then we close, and don't forget that we need to then call the show notes function one more time, and then we close. So let's save and let's test. So I'm going to delete the last one. I get you are deleting this note, and boom, it's gone. I'll delete this one, boom, it's gone. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to edit this note. Okay, that doesn't do anything yet because we've not created the edit function. Okay, so the edit function is a little bit more complex than, but we can do it. So let me come down here, right, and I would say function to edit the notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to say function, and it's going to be edit. So we've already actually called the function before, named the function before, so edit note, and but don't forget that it's going to edit the index item. So index is going to be here. Okay, then let's call the notes from the local storage. So I'll say let notes equals local storage dot get items. Okay, and what are we getting? We're getting our notes. Okay, and then basically I'll then add an if else statement. Okay, so I want to edit the notes. Basically what I want to do first is I want to make sure that there is nothing in the form before I can edit the notes. So I would say if add title dot value is not equals to an empty string. In other words, if there's something inside, right, or add text.value is also not equals to an empty string. So what do I want to do? If this, I want to return an alert. So this alert will say, please clear the form before editing a note. Okay. And oh, I forgot to put it around quotes. So let me just do that. Okay. So let me save, and I don't know if that will work immediately. Okay, it does. So please clear the form before editing a note. Okay, and it stops there. Yeah. So what are we going to do? We are going to grab our if else statement, the one we put here, and okay, no, it shouldn't go in, it should come outside of this. So basically, let me just make sure that I'm not copying and pasting the wrong thing. So I'll say if notes blah blah blah, and I want to do json.parse. Okay, so that's in order. Okay, yeah. So basically, I will just do, let me just console.log just to be sure I'm on the right track. I'll console.log the notes objects, right? Notes objects, and I'll save. So let me open this up and let's see what we've done. I hope we don't have too much errors. So I'll click on edit and console.log and edit. Okay, so you see that when I click on edit, it shows me it brings up the object here, and it shows me the content. Okay, so you see hello, my name, AAA, and blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, we're on the right track. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually get the items. Okay, so let me just comment this out, and let's do notes objects dot find index. So we're going to use the find index operator, right? And I don't know if you've used this find index before, but it's going to just collect the elements, okay, and index. So let's come out here and let's do, okay, now we're then going to see that add title dot value, and it's going to be element dot title. So I'm sure you're already seeing what we're doing here. So basically, when we click on the edit notes, we're going to get the value for that specific note, right? And we're going to assign it to the title and the text fields. So let me duplicate this and change this to text, and also I'll change this to text. Okay, and I will save. Okay, but we are not done. Okay, what we need to do is we need to come outside of this, and then we'll say notes object dot splice, because when you click on edit, you don't want the content of that note to still be on the page, so you need to delete it. Okay, and then push the details here. Okay, all right, so we have pushed the details here first. Now we're going to delete it. So we're going to say dot splice. Okay, and just as we did before, we're going to say this index, and we're just going to delete only one, and then we're going to close. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to say local storage dot set item. So we're saving everything back to the local storage, and let's just say that I want to save it as the notes. And basically we know we need to convert it to a string back, so json dot stringify, and then what are we converting to a string? That's the notes object. Wow, that's a lot of work. Okay, so let me just click on the edit button. Okay, I think something is wrong here, so let me just delete this one and okay, and edit. Oh, I know what's happening. This basically I need to go to my index HTML first, and I need to get rid of these ones here. Okay, so in fact I can even get rid of, I can just comment all of this out. Like I can just do like this and comment all of this out and save, right? And then let me just delete this guy and let's start again. So I'm just going to type in just dummy text, and I'll say add notes. Okay, so it's added, and then I'll say edit notes. So it's taking only the title, it's not taking the text. So I let me just see the console and see if there's any information there. All right, so there's some information here. It says that add text is not defined. Oh, text, it's actually txt. All right, so because that txt is not defined, it stops the function there and it hooks the function at that point. So let's just come here and correct that. So script.js, and so this should be txt. Okay, and I think if we save, we should not get any error anymore. So edit. All right, so it takes the content of the notes, but it doesn't delete the notes. Okay, so let's go back and see what we need to do. So notes object dot splice index at 1, and then you set the item for the notes, json dot stringify notes object blah blah blah. Okay, so it should actually delete the notes. I'm wondering why it's not. So let me just, and we're not even getting any error in the console. Okay, so let's refresh the page and try again. Oh, it's deleted the notes. Okay, let me add that. Okay, so it's actually deleting the notes, but I think we needed to call this show notes. Okay, so to like refresh the page kind of. So that's probably why we had the error. So if I save this, right, and let me just do this one more time. Okay, I think, and I click on edit notes. Okay, yeah, you see, so it pushes the content of the notes here, and then it deletes the note because the show note actually refreshes the page. Okay, so I'll just close this up and let's add notes and let's edit notes. And as you can see, let's add notes, add another note, and then we can delete these notes, and then we can even edit. And so basically we've actually seen how we can manipulate stuff using the local storage. Okay, we've seen how we can add stuff to the local storage, how we can delete stuff from the local storage, how we can edit stuff from the local storage. Okay, so there's just one thing we didn't see in this lecture, and it's how to clear the local storage completely with a single button. Okay, All right, but that's something you can probably just maybe check on Google and do yourself. It's pretty straightforward. So I want to thank you so much for sticking with me up till this point, and I should probably add that you can go ahead and add some CSS to your notes. Okay, I think we can even do that first. So let me add a note. So there's no space between the notes. Okay, so we can fix that. All we just need to do is come to our CSS and let's go to our notes, and I'm even wondering why it doesn't show up. Okay, I don't think I want to spend so much time doing this right now. Okay, no, it's straightforward. All I just need to do is to find the specific note, I think. So I don't even have a, so let's just look at the index HTML. Okay, there's a note here. Okay, so I'll come to style.css and let me just come here and I'll say dot notes, and I'll just see margin hyphen bottom, and let me just do one rem, and I think that should do it. Oh, it doesn't though. Wow. Okay, like forgive me, I really don't want to spend so much time debugging CSS right now and figuring out what exactly the problem is. So what is going to happen is I'll definitely find a reason why this is, and then in the code, in the source code, you're going to have that solution. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this one, and see you in the last project.